deceptively simple. Right. Once I tell you how to do it, I think I've already previewed that for you. It's going to seem like, what? Okay, that's very easy. I can do that. And that's what I love. I love simplifying everything. I don't like complexity. My mind is not that capacious to fit all of the things I need to learn for life. So I dumb everything down, make it as simple as possible. All of this was a preamble for that, to understand how that works. Now, understanding the ideal man is an important part of the technique, because you need to calibrate with that. But if you already understand the ideal man, you're just looking at the technique itself. It's very simple. And here we go. And in fact, I was just contemplating just walking up on stage and giving it to you in about 5 minutes. But I found that that's sort of like just me talking to myself. And just from my years of teaching, that generally is not a very good teaching style. So this information that you've gotten up to this point is preparation for you to understand the context for this very, very simple method, a very simple system. How to make her feel how you feel. Okay, we have just a few steps. The first is that you identify the current emotion. Okay, so we spent a good section on that. Identify the current emotion. The second is that you calibrate based on what the ideal man would feel. And this is only necessary for the beginning stages. So you feel something, I guess that's something that's, I just assume. You're feeling, then you identify the feeling, right? Then if the feeling is inappropriate, you'll know if the feeling is inappropriate because you'll know, you need to know what the ideal man would feel. What should you feel? Right? You should feel confident. You should not feel insecure, for instance. But you feel insecurity, you can't get away from it. Right? And you calibrate that with what the ideal man would feel. Right? You can do that, you do that verbally. It's important for you to realize that you're not feeling what you ought to feel. And then you either feel the good feeling, confidence, or you feel the package of the intent, the nervous or an insecurity plus the confidence. Right? And what is overriding any bad feeling is the rake feeling of desire. Right? So always mixed in there is going to be desire, right? Arousal, attraction. Identify the good feelings that you're feeling, the good emotions that you're feeling. Confidence, assertiveness maybe, or if you lack those, at least desire. Right? And then, third step, right? The third step is to intensify those good feelings while maintaining proximity and looking into her eyes. Amplify them. Isn't that simple? So you've gotten everything up to the point where you're feeling it intensely. Whatever good emotions you have, feel those more. Okay, remember we go back to the 5 steps. We got up to 4C. Reframing your interpretation and then conditioning your unconscious mind. The 5th one is to feel intensely. Right? To feel intensely. A common characteristic of charismatic individuals is that they feel emotion strongly. So you want to encourage and develop those tendencies within yourself. Be passionate about life. The people who go about life like it's like a walking, like zombies, just yes men, just doing what they're told to do, and not doing anything because of greater purpose, or drive, or passion. Or what's most common is that when they're younger, in their teens, they'll have this drive and a passion for something. And then because of the exigencies of modern life, they've had to give that up, to sacrifice, to be a corporate man and do a job they don't enjoy. Right? Don't lose the passion. Rediscover it if you had it, or if you never had it, maybe because you had a very controlled childhood, as many Asian kids have had. You want to start feeling intensely. How do you do this? Actually, this is something that's I should have elaborated more on. Because I find that Confucian cultures, which is the one I'm currently living in, lacks this emotional richness. And partly because of the rigidity of the education system and the way children are raised here, they're not encouraged to feel a lot. Just as you are, if you were to learn, I'm going to try new tastes, like new flavors. Right? I want to taste intense flavors. How do you do that? Well, you're going to go to this Indian restaurant. You're going to try like the spiciest curry ever. Then you're going to go to this Chinese restaurant. You're going to try the spiciest thing ever. You're going to go to the sweetest restaurant, the sweetest dessert ever. Try that. You're going to go for the intense flavors. Something really sour, and then something really salty. A hero of mine, Gary Vaynerchuk, author of Crush It, also runs this blog, winelibrary.tv. And in that one, he talked about how he trained his palate. Because it was about wine, and in the wine books they say it tastes of the terroir of whatever, right? The terroir of the soil. So he actually went out and tasted dirt. And there's an episode of Conan, is it Conan O'Brien? Where he had Conan O'Brien taste the dirt too. It just had some soil, and it's like, blah. He also tastes rock, because in those wine books they say it tastes like stone or something. So he took stone. It also says, these people who, I think they just make up tastes, because they don't really know what they taste like. They just write this to sound like high-end, or like hoity-toity. Paper. What else did he tasted paper. He has a very rich palate. His tongue has had a very rich experience, a very rich life. Now think about your emotions. How many emotions have you felt? Have you felt what it's like to have your life flashing before you? Just kidding. I don't recommend that. But hey, if you get the chance to do something dangerous, go bungee jumping, go skydiving, get the adrenaline rush. There's a reason why women are attracted to bad boys who race motorcycles, and put their lives on the line, who are adventurous. Go travel and see the world. Do you know what it's like to be mugged? I don't wish it on you, but I mean, that's another experience that will drive up all these emotions for you. If you've lived a sheltered life, it's going to be very hard for you to attract women, because you'll have a pathetic emotional life. If mommy and daddy take care of your food, they take care of your laundry, they take care of your bedding, you're fucked. You can date a 17-year-old maybe, because she's had the same experience. But we're talking about women who have, ideally, who've led rich lives, rich emotional lives. And as I was mentioning before, women tend to experience emotions in a deeper way than men, just because of their makeup, the way they're made up. So we have to do extra work to compensate for that, to understand that, to bridge that, and to attract them more, to experience that diversity and the intensity of feeling. And once you're able to feel different feelings intensely, anger, sadness, grief, then you can convey it, because you can call upon it, including pleasure, desire, arousal, lust, right? Excitement, fun. So I see a lot of guys in the pickup artist community who are really dead. I see it in their eyes. I pick it up through my amygdala, I think. I see it in their eyes, and I'm like looking at them like, oh God, you haven't said a single word. You look fine. Your clothes are all right, but I'm looking into your eyes, and I feel like I'm dying. And trust me, when a girl's looking into your eyes, if you're leading a dead emotional life, she's not going to want to even look at you, because she's going to look at you and go, oh, it's like her tree is withering. One of the secrets to Tom Cruise's success in acting is that he's intense. They say he was so intense that when he was auditioning for TV shows, no one would take him, because he was just too intense for TV. And then he had that Risky Business come out role, right? Where he came out in his underwear, and he slid across the hardwood floor, and he did the and he started doing that miming, he sang along with that song. That was pretty intense, and most of it was made up, because on the script it just says he comes out, something like that, right? And he did that all because he's intense. He's an intense person. He lives very intensely, as you can see in the way he's been going with Scientology. Don't be glib. I hope you know what I'm talking about, because I know most of you here are short. So you should be watching this. Feel intensely. Charismatic individuals draw people into their sphere, into their force, into their power, because of the feeling that they have. And sometimes it's controlled, like Martin Luther King, right? He's not making big movements and gestures, but you can feel the intensity in his voice. But sometimes it is big, like Gary Vaynerchuk. On the way here, I was just watching his talk that was reproduced on the TED.com website. I think it was for a Web Expo 2.0. Where he's just swearing, just off the cuff. He's feeling intensely. You will draw others to you. If you feel intensely, they will come to you in an almost effortless way. Because you'll just be transferring good feelings to them. And at the more advanced level, you'll be transferring not just good feelings, but a range of feelings. Having a range of feelings is the next level. An emotional roller coaster. It's like a slot machine. Why are slot machines so addictive? Because you never know what you're going to get. You might get $10, but you might get nothing. But it's the promise of that $10 that keeps you going. And that is the emotion. That's an emotional addiction. You don't know what you're going to get next. And for the advanced rakes, you could say, the people who are advanced with the EAS, Emotional Activation System, because they're able to identify and name and draw and express a range of emotions. I just gave an example earlier of 46 different emotions, and they're able to draw on all of those. Then it's easy for them to convey and give other people an emotional roller coaster through their eyes. Because they just feel in themselves, and boom, they feel that. And they feel another one. They change the emotion again, and the other person feels it. And in a date, in a matter of an hour, you could take her on this huge emotional journey, up and down, up and down. And then it ends with the seductive feeling, right? Arousal, desire. You slow it down. You slow down your heart pace, your heart rate. You don't always have to be that way, is what I'm saying. And you don't always have to have good emotions, because honestly, a life just full of good emotions, because you're missing the contrast, will become boring. That's what the science tells us. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So don't worry. You don't have to go out of your way to try to find bad emotions. They'll find you. It's just life. Don't worry about that. Roll with it. Feel it. Just use that as part of your education and emotions. And then when you feel that feeling, understand how that feels in your body, and then amplify that feeling. How do you amplify it? Next slide. Here, there are two ways. Recall a time when you have felt that emotion. Or the next time you feel that emotion, do this. Identify how it feels in your body. And look at the physical manifestations of it. So anger, your hands start to shake, your heart starts to beat very quickly. You get this vein popping out of your neck, and maybe your head starts to hurt, and you feel like you're going to explode. Understand that feeling. Get used to that. That's anger. Okay? And then, now that you're in it, or maybe because just by stepping out of that and going into the objective third person, your anger is going to start to lessen right away. And so you want to hold on to the anger before it just completely disappears. So you know what that feels like phenomenologically. So you don't confuse it with some other feeling. Now trace backwards how you got there. The interpretation. That's the feeling tone. But there are two parts to emotion. The other is the interpretation. Figure that out. What got you so angry? What was it that you were perceiving that made you so angry, that made you feel that way? Trace that backwards. Okay. The second way is that the next time you feel a feeling intensely, anchor it to some sensory perception. Touch, sound, smell. You ever notice that sound is a great one? Music. Music can recall memories. Right? The last time maybe you're on a date, you were at this concert, and you heard that song together, and then you hear it on the radio. Even if she's not there, you think of her. Smell. Smell is very important. You begin to associate a certain fragrance with a certain girl. She will do the same for you. So that she doesn't have to be there, but you smell that and you recall it. Or of course, the way that you grow up, your upbringing. Right? When I smell, winter air, last time I had that, I was in Japan, and I smelled the winter, the snow and just the rush of that chill air. And it reminded me not of Japan, because I hadn't been in Japan in the winter yet until that point. But it reminded me of Canada, growing up in Canada, and skating rinks every winter. The smell, the feel of it, the taste, those are all anchors that trigger the emotion. Home. or sometimes they can be negative ones. So there are two ways to do it. You think of the thought processes that led to that emotion. If you want to recall that emotion, if you want it to come back up, you just go through those thought processes again. That's one way to do it. The other is to anchor it to a strong sensory stimuli. Touch, sound, smell, etc. Okay. Then notice taste is another big one. Touch, sound, smell, taste. Especially in Asia, where the tastes are very strong and they're delicious. But I once had bad satay, and it made me throw up all night long. And then I had to get on a plane the next day, which is horrible. And for about 10 years or so, I couldn't even smell satay anymore. It'd make me throw up. So it was like a big deal when I finally put it on my tongue and was like, okay, I can deal with this. But it's like an intense experience associated with the sensory stimuli, gives you that emotion. You can create this in yourself through disciplines like NLP. And Tony Robbins uses neuroassociative conditioning. It's all based on that option, that version. But the cognitive version of it is also very effective, tracing backwards from the emotion to the thoughts that led up to it. Just like feeling fear of snakes. What led you to fear the snake? What did you think the snake was going to do? Why did you think it was going to do that? What was it that led to that belief? And then led to the feeling. Then you practice amplifying it. You can do it by recreating the experience to recreate the feeling. Now, if it's a negative one, like throwing up all night long, you probably don't want to recreate the experience. But I bet you this, if the very next week I had satay and threw up again for a whole 24-hour period, I will be very, very good at recalling that feeling. Right? Not just for 10 years, it's going to be anchored for 20. I'll never be able to look at satay or smell it again. Recreating the experience recreates the feeling. You can also use visualizations. Right? So you want to visualize being happy and confident with her. I mean, you want to be happy and confident when you're with her on the date. Visualize it beforehand. See yourself doing that. Feel yourself feeling those things. And of course, you can also use anchors like music and smells and so forth. And then practice inducing the desired emotions on a daily basis, especially happiness. Learn how to make yourself happy. Remember, you can recall the last time you were really happy. What thoughts or what events or what context led to that? Were you really happy the last time you smoked cigars? Then smoke more cigars. I'm just kidding. That's often how it happens, right? People just become addicted to something that's bad for them because when they experience the bad thing, it was actually part of the good experience that gave them the good feelings. But recall when you felt that feeling, and that will help you discover the anchors, and it will help you to draw on that emotion again. So for instance, if you ask yourself, when in my life was I the happiest? And probably there won't be that many variable situations. The studies have shown that sharing food with quality relationships, like dining with people that are important to you, will bring you happiness. Sex generally will bring you, well, maybe not happiness, but like a very intense pleasure. Right? So just have more sex and eat more food with people. Maximize experiences that bring you good emotions. Then get used to feeling the good emotion. Anchor it to something. Associate it with some sound, sight, smell, taste, touch. And then practice visualizing it if you can't experience it in real life. Do it every day. Once you get used to creating the feeling, you won't need to recreate the experience. You can just feel good. Here are some negative emotions that you need to learn how to identify and manage. I'll just give you a quick list. Discomfort. Discomfort. Fear. Hurt. Anger. Frustration. Disappointment, inadequacy, and loneliness. So there are 8. Gave you 8 emotions that you need to identify and manage. These are negative ones. They're going to come up. When was the last time you felt discomfort? It could be just like physical discomfort, like you were on an economy class seat for 20 hours. That was uncomfortable. But that's not really the kind of discomfort that's an emotion per se. Right? And how is that different from fear and from hurt and so forth? And you want to query those and challenge those. And if you're feeling them in the middle of a date, or you're feeling them when you're with a woman, let's say you feel hurt because she said, I don't date short guys, or man, you're too skinny for me. And you're like, oh, it just feels bad. Well, that doesn't help you very much. You could just say, I feel bad. That's all right, that's something. Be better to say, I feel hurt. I know I shouldn't be. I should get over this insecurity. I shouldn't be insecure. My rational mind says, girls like you, they will have sex with guys who are shorter. Studies have shown. In fact, I can produce evidence. And yet, you can make me feel this way. That's not fair. How did you do this? What spell have you cast on me? Okay, so that's like, you identify, you name the negative emotion, you balance it with the ideal. But that's the beginner's level. The advanced level is to amplify the positive emotions. So whatever good stuff you do have, you want to amplify it. And I'll give you, I think it's 8 as well. 8 emotions that you want to learn how to amplify. The biggest one is love. Spread the love, Han-Yung. Spread it. When you feel love, intensify it. Don't just move on. When you feel it and sit in it. Meditate on it. Don't move. Don't change the circumstances. Just let it sit and go, ah, yeah. That's love. Another one is arousal. This is going to become very important when we get to the sexual activation system. Arousal. I don't think you guys generally are pretty good at that. Curiosity. This is important, especially when you're in a cocktail party or you're in a bar where it's not crazy yet, but you're able to have intelligent conversation, or mildly intelligent. You got to be curious. You have to be interested in them. Even if at the beginning it's not a natural interest of yours, because you have just too many things on your own plate, you have too many things going on in your life, you can't be interested in other things. This is when you need to focus on that emotion of curiosity. Like, interesting. Passion. Passion itself is infectious. Right? This is it's because passion is just a supercharged emotion. It gets contagious pretty easily. Excitement. It's different from passion. Right? Excitement, just woohoo! Excitement. Confidence. And I went over 2 different kinds of confidence. Energetic. Sometimes you just feel really, really tired. Like maybe, I don't know, now. Maybe you feel really, really tired. Understand and know how you can get the energy back. What do you need to do with your body to get the energy back? What do you need to do with your face to get the energy back? What do you need to think to get the energy back? What do you need to visualize or associate with? And lastly, happiness. Imagine that you have the key to happiness. The key to happiness is happiness itself. Being able to induce that feeling when you want. And practicing it. Bringing up happiness. Cheerfulness, joyfulness. The world could be exploding. Bad things could be happening. Right? But you know how to be content there. Because you've discovered the pathway. And when you're on a date, whatever good emotions you're feeling, amplify those. The words aren't so important. Just look into her eyes and feel it. Feel the feeling. Arousal, love, maybe affection. Oh, that's so cute. Right? Curiosity, tell me more. Right? That's what drives it. That's what drives the rake. Then what will happen? As you feel this, because of the science of mirror neurons, she will pick up on that too. If you're curious about her, guess what? She'll be curious about you. This is what's explained in Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Right? And it's the same with, it's always reciprocating. But the key to controlling that is by feeling it intensely. Because the more intense you feel it, the easier it will be, the more contagious it will be, the easier for it to transfer to her. Okay, what's the final product? The finished product should look like this. When you use the emotional activation system, you truly feel the emotion that you want her to feel. Then you look deeply and unblinkingly into her eyes while you amplify that feeling. That's why it's so important to practice amplifying it. And this is the power of the rake. When he looks into her eyes, she feels his desire for her. And every woman, every body wants to be desired. But a lot of times the guys feel guilty about it. And they don't even know, they're in denial. They're avoiding it. They feel guilty or shame. They're holding back. Right? They're not letting it come through. And if you can intensify the emotion and then switch to another one, playfulness, and then switch to curiosity, and then switch to arousal again, and then switch back to happiness. And then maybe just for contrast, as you're telling a story, you get sad, you get depressed. Right? And then, hey, it's all right. Confidence again. And then arousal. You never know. This is an emotional roller coaster. One thing that I didn't want to mention at the beginning, to scare you all, I didn't want to scare you all off, is that what you're doing in learning attraction arts is actually learning the art of acting. You're learning to act like somebody else. Who's that somebody else? The ideal man. You're learning to act like the ideal man. The particular school of acting is like method acting. And this is a school that most of the best actors in the world follow. Right? They'll inhabit that character, especially if it's a live person, a real historical person who is alive. They'll go and live with that person for an extended period of time to try to figure out what that person is like from the inside out. And then they'll stay in character. They actually have character coaches who follow them around and just make sure that they stay in character while they're getting coffee on their coffee break or having a lunch break with somebody. They're in character, they're that person. Because what basically you're trying to do is to become that ideal man, right? But at the beginning, that's tough. I'm not telling you got to be a world-class actor. You don't need to. Because at the beginning, you just need to know what the gap is between you and the ideal. But eventually, what's going to happen? You're going to take on that character so well, it's actually going to be the stronger you, the ideal you. But at the beginning, in the intermediate stages, as you're going from the current self to the ideal self, as you're going through that process, you're going to be doing this process of what basically method actors would be doing, feeling emotions intensely. When they're crying, they're actually really crying about some other memory or something, to call up that emotion. They're feeling that. Okay. 3 steps to making her deeply attracted to you. There are 3 steps. Your whole relationship is a combination of these 3. Okay. You cannot miss out on any of these. And they're not linear steps. You could do it linearly, and that's how it's usually done. But the relationship will always be going through these 3 phases, so to speak. The first step is excitement. It's marked by excitement, fun, silly, positive nervousness, and a little bit sexual, like just a little bit of arousal. So those are the dominant emotions you want to have. You want to have those emotions when you're first meeting a woman. Step 2 is appreciation and wonder, and a bit more sexual, and a bit more arousal, because she's earned it by earning your appreciation. Step 3 is savoring the sexual tension. Because if you're going through these steps in a linear fashion, there should be sexual tension at the end. You should be aroused. And you should be trying to hold yourself back. It's like you're struggling to restrain yourself. These are going to be the dominant emotions at each step. Your whole relationship is a combination of these 3. Now you can't skip any of these steps. If you skip step 1, the fun and excitement and the silliness, you're the creepy guy. Just like, yeah, tell me more about you. And then you get sexual. It's not good. If you skip step 2, you skip the appreciation and the wonder, you're just the player who can never get a girlfriend. You're fun and excitement and then sex. And you're missing a step. If you skip step 3, where you don't go on into escalating into something more sexual, then you're the platonic friend. And maybe that's what you want. I think if you're watching this, you're probably not what you want. So that's a necessary step to getting into a dating relationship with her. So if you think you're in step 2, but she accuses you of something like, why are you so serious all the time? Right? Then go back to step 1. Get fun and silly and excited again. Right? You're not ready yet. She's not ready. You haven't transferred that emotion successfully yet. Maybe you haven't felt it intensely, or you did it too quickly. If you think you're in step 3, which is the arousal stage, and she accuses you of like being a creep, or she's really, you say the sense she's not turned on, then go back to step 1. Go back to fun and excitement. Right? Fast. Right. You might also need to go back to step 2. But go back to step 1, then go to 2. To bring her out of that, just the fun, silliness, to distract her. Because if you go to step 3 too early, that's going to be a bad thing. It's going to raise a lot of bad anchors. You move back to fun and silliness, it's a stronger emotion than step 2. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very elegant system. It's just about feeling a good feeling, intensifying it, looking into her eyes and transferring it. If you don't feel the good feeling yet, that's where the work comes. There are 3 steps to mastery. The first is the beginner's level. At this level, you understand what the ideal self is, the ideal man, and you understand the gap between you, your current self, and the ideal self. When you feel the improper emotions, you want to name them. And you got to be honest with yourself, and then calibrate against the ideal self. The intermediate level is where you have moderate levels of emotion at each stage. But you're mainly vibing with her. Okay? The advanced level is where you have a bigger range of emotions, you have more variety and more depth. And because you're taking her on this journey so much more, and you're so much more attractive, she's going to be putting on the brakes just because she's not used to this. So she might be testing you more to see if you're the real thing. But you've got to see these as fun and cute. Okay, those are the 3 steps to mastery. Okay, so you have it. You understand the 3 stages of the relationship. And you know now, through the 3 steps to mastery, of what to expect as you get better at using the emotional activation system. You've got to use it or you're going to lose it. Got all this information, it will do you no good to just listen to me talk about it. You've got to apply it. You've got to get living an intense emotional life, a rich emotional life. You've got to learn how to amplify emotions. You've got to learn how to identify, name them, and so forth. But you have all the steps here. And it's going to be a fun journey. And the end is not just women, it's happiness, it's fulfillment. You know how to access that when you want it. Okay, emotional activation system. Okay, we're done. Thank you.